Hello everyone, my name is Matthew McSween, and today I'll be presenting my research paper titled Harry Potter and the Threshold Guardians. My goal in this presentation is to explain how the Dursleys, Harry Potter's foster family, play a much larger narrative role than just being mean or unpleasant characters. In fact, J.K. Rowling uses them to represent the Threshold Guardian archetype, a common figure found in the hero's journey. Christopher Vogler describes the Threshold Guardians as the first major obstacles a hero encounters. Figures placed at the gateway to a new world, who try to keep the hero from moving forward. Harry's journey is no different. Before he ever even meets Voldemort, dragons, or magic spells, his greatest challenge is simply surviving a family that fears difference, hates imagination, and suppresses everything that makes him unique. In my paper, I argue that Rowling uses the Dursleys to show themes of conformity, projected insecurity, psychological control, social pressure, identity distortion, and even ego development. Their cruelty doesn't just harm Harry, it shapes him, forces him to grow, prepares him for the emotional challenges he'll face later in his life at Hogwarts. My first major point is that the Dursleys represent society's obsession with normality. Rowling exaggerates this to almost a comedic level. They brag about being perfectly normal, and they panic over anything different: Harry's magic, his personality, even his entire existence. The Dursleys represent the dominant mundane culture, a world that is deficient in imagination and sympathy. In other words, they're not just a family, they're a satire of a society that fears anything unusual. This exaggerated normality becomes Harry's first threshold. He isn't challenged by dark magic yet. He's challenged by the suffocating pressure to fit into a world where he doesn't even belong. Privet Drive represents the emotional flatness, the rule-bound predictability, and the fear-driven desire for conformity that he must break free from. Rowling uses this setting to show that some of the hardest barriers in life are the social expectations that tell us we must stay ordinary, stay quiet, and never even reach for something more. The next layer of the Dursleys' role involves their personal insecurities. Their treatment of Harry isn't random. It comes from jealousy, fear, and emotional pain. Petunia's entire life has been shaped by her jealousy of her magical sister, Lily. When she finally explodes at Hagrid, she reveals decades of resentment. She felt overshadowed, ignored, and bitter about being the normal sister. This scene highlights that Petunia needs Harry to fail, because seeing him succeed will remind her of everything she feels she lacks. Vernon, on the other hand, fears anything he can't control. Magic threatens his sense of order and masculinity, so he responds by tightening his grip, especially on Harry. Together as a couple, they project their insecurities onto Harry. Instead of confronting their own fear or envy, they turn him into a scapegoat. This turns them into psychological gatekeepers, not just physical ones. Their emotional damage becomes Harry's emotional obstacle. Rowling uses them to show how people who fear their own weaknesses often attack others for strengths they themselves do not have. Another major threshold Harry must cross is the Dursley system of control. They suppress him through isolation, surveillance, and, as previously mentioned, humiliation. Whether it be the cupboard under the stairs, the chore lists, the strict rules, refusal to acknowledge anything magical, these are all tools of psychological entrapment. Harry's combination of frustration and empathy comes honestly from being raised by people who suffocate him emotionally. Their control is meant to break his spirit, to prevent him from even imagining that his life could be different. This is one of the most important aspects of the Threshold Guardian role. Guardians do not only block the hero physically, they block the mind. Rowling uses this domestic oppression to illustrate how ordinary environments can act as invisible prisons. Before Harry can even leave Privet Drive, he has to reclaim a sense of self-worth that the Dursleys spent years trying to erase and bring down. One of the clearest moments showing that the Dursleys are Threshold Guardians is the famous letter scene. Thousands of letters arrive for Harry, and still the Dursleys refuse to let him see even one. Despite the overwhelming number of letters, Harry is not allowed to open any of them. Each letter represents destiny calling out to him. The refusal turns into a physical battle between worlds. The more the magical world tries to reach Harry, the more desperately the Dursleys try to stop him. This creates a dynamic image of the threshold. The ordinary world is collapsing around them, and the magical world is breaking through, no matter what they try. This right here is the final push Harry needs to move from repression to recognition. It symbolizes the idea that some opportunities in life are too powerful to be silenced, even when others try to hold us back. The next threshold, on the other hand, is more internal. Harry must resist the ego that many heroes fall victim to. Many child heroes confront their own narcissism, and Harry fits in this pattern. But unlike characters who become arrogant because of their special abilities, Harry enters the magical world with no ego at all. Why, you might ask? Because the Dursleys crushed any chance of pride. He never had attention, affection, or validation. But, luckily, this turns into an unexpected advantage. When faced with the Mirror of Erised, a mirror that traps people in their fantasies, Harry is tempted, but he doesn't lose himself the way others do. He knows desire, but he doesn't drown in it. His loneliness, shaped by the Dursleys, becomes a foundation of emotional maturity. Their cruelty, ironically, makes him more grounded, more empathetic, and more aware of others. A lot of people compare Harry Potter to King Arthur, raised away by his true identity until destiny calls him. But unlike Arthur's gentle upbringing, Harry's is harsh, which makes his rise even more meaningful. The Dursleys are like distorted guardians, figures who are supposed to protect the chosen child and instead suppress him. The story also has a lot to say about crowd psychology. The wizarding world is full of rumors, mobs, hysteria, and shifting loyalties. Because the Dursleys raised Harry in isolation, he doesn't crave validation from crowds. Being an outsider makes him immune to the pressure that misled others. Harry defined himself against his controlling environments. The Dursleys are a textbook example of this. Every time Harry breaks a rule, reads a letter, or simply dreams of Hogwarts, he builds a sense of agency. And one of the reasons Harry wants to leave the Dursleys for so long is because they created a false identity for him, telling him lies about his parents, making him believe he is worthless, and shaping how he sees himself. Escaping Perfect Drive is not just escaping a place, it's escaping a fabricated identity. This is one of the most powerful thresholds he crosses. To conclude, the Dursleys serve as far more than just comedic villains or background characters. They are foundational obstacles of Harry's entire journey, the first major test of his courage, identity, and emotional resilience. Through conformity, insecurity, psychological control, false identity, social pressure, and even ego resistance, Rowling uses the Dursleys to shape Harry into a hero long before he even enters the magical world. They don't just hold him back, they unintentionally prepare him. Their cruelty teaches him empathy. Their insecurity teaches him humility. Their control teaches him independence. And their lives force him to rediscover who he truly is. By the time Harry steps into Hogwarts, he has already crossed the hardest threshold, escaping the fearful, limiting world the Dursleys tried to trap him in.